Welcome, distinguished guests and viewers, to our roundtable discussion. Today, we delve into the depths of Christianity, a faith that has shaped history, culture, and spirituality across centuries. Let us start by introducing our esteemed panel. Elijah, could you share your perspective with us?
Certainly, Precious. As an Anglican priest, I've dedicated much of my life to understanding and teaching Christian doctrine. Christianity, in its essence, is about love, compassion, and community service, deeply rooted in the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Fascinating, Elijah. Thank you. Sarah, your insights, please.
I bring a Jewish perspective to this discussion. Judaism and Christianity share early roots, and it's important to explore these connections and differences to fully grasp the impact of Christian doctrine.
Insightful as always, Sarah. Ahmad, what do you bring to our discussion?
As a Muslim cleric, I hope to offer a respectful and curious perspective on Christianity, bringing in comparisons and contrasts with Islamic beliefs, especially where interfaith understanding and peace-building are concerned.
Thank you, Ahmad. Ananda, my Buddhist practice emphasizes mindfulness and compassion, qualities that I see reflected in Christian teachings as well. Today, I look forward to exploring the similarities and divergences in our spiritual paths. Appreciate your perspective, Ananda. And Priyananda, please introduce your viewpoint.
As a proponent of Hindu philosophy, I see great value in discussing the impact of Christianity from a standpoint of unity in diversity. There are parallels and teachings in Christianity that echo the depths of spiritual liberation we explore in Hinduism.
Thank you, Priyananda. As we embark on this journey, let us remember the significance of history, the immense cultural impact, and the spiritual depth Christianity brings to the table. This discussion promises to be enlightening as we each bring our unique lenses to bear on these topics. Let's dive into our first segment. Welcome, everyone. Today, we delve into the development of Christian doctrine in the first millennium. Elijah, could you set the stage for us?
Certainly. The first millennium was a foundational period for Christian doctrine, highlighted by the establishment of the Nicene Creed in 325 AD. This was a crucial step in defining the Christian understanding of the nature of Christ and the Holy Trinity.
I find it fascinating how this early period of Christian theology shares similarities with Jewish theological development, especially in the context of wrestling with concepts of monotheism and the nature of God.
From an Islamic perspective, there's a recognition of Jesus as a prophet and respect for the monotheistic roots shared with Christianity, though the development of doctrines like the Trinity distinctly diverges from Islamic views of God's oneness.
It's interesting to note how spiritual evolution in the Eastern traditions also grapples with complex understandings of the divine. The development of Christian doctrine in the first millennium shows a shared human quest to comprehend the divine nature.
That's a profound point, Ananda. The Vedanta philosophy, for instance, explores the concept of Brahman in ways that echo the early Christian explorations of the nature of God and existence, though the methodologies and conclusions might differ.
I appreciate the parallels you're drawing, Priyananda. The exploration of divine nature is indeed a common thread across our traditions. However, the establishment of key Christian doctrines was also about setting boundaries of orthodoxy and heresy, which had profound social and political implications.
Yes, and those implications include how communities defined themselves against each other, something Judaism has also experienced. The debates that shaped early Christian doctrines were not just theological, but deeply tied to identity and power.
I strongly agree, Sarah. It's a matter that transcends the religious spectrum. In Islam, we've had our own set of debates that shape the community's boundaries, much like the early Christian efforts to define orthodoxy.
While understanding the importance of defining orthodoxy, from a Buddhist perspective, the emphasis has always been more on practice and the path to enlightenment rather than strict doctrinal conformity. It seems doctrinal debates can sometimes overshadow the pursuit of spiritual growth.
Ananda, that's a crucial observation. However, for Christianity, doctrine has often served as the foundation for understanding how to live out one's faith. Though admittedly, this focus has also led to conflicts and schisms within the Church.
It's vital, though, to recognize the role of interpretation. Hinduism, too, has its share of interpretative diversity, yet it's that very diversity that enriches our understanding of the divine. Could the early Christian church have benefited from a more inclusive approach to doctrinal development?
That's a challenging question, Priyananda. While inclusivity fosters richness, the early church leaders likely felt a pressing need to establish clear doctrines to unite the community and protect it from what they viewed as misleading teachings.
Thank you, everyone, for this engaging discussion. It's clear that the development of Christian doctrine in the first millennium not only shaped the future of Christianity, but also reflected broader human endeavors to understand the divine. Let's carry these insights forward as we continue our discussion. Let's explore the concept of the Trinity, a cornerstone of Christian theology, yet a point of contention with other monotheistic and non-monotheistic perspectives. Sarah, could you begin by discussing the Jewish roots of monotheism and how it contrasts with the Trinity?
Certainly. Judaism staunchly upholds the oneness of God. Deuteronomy 6:4, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one," is a foundational scripture in Jewish tradition. The Christian concept of the Trinity, from a Jewish perspective, complicates the pure monotheism that is central to our faith.
I appreciate the Jewish commitment to monotheism, Sarah. However, I'd argue that the Trinity does not contradict monotheism, but deepens our understanding of the divine nature. The Trinity reflects the complexity of God's nature as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, three distinct persons, but one essence.
I must respectfully disagree, Elijah. From an Islamic perspective, the notion of the Trinity appears to challenge the absolute oneness of God, Tawheed, which is central to Islam. Any division of God into parts or assignment of partners is considered shirk or polytheism.
In Hinduism, we are familiar with the concept of a Godhead manifesting in multiple forms, yet we do not see this as a contradiction to divine unity. The various deities in Hinduism embody different aspects of the one supreme reality, Brahman.
It's fascinating, Priyananda, how both Christianity and Hinduism embrace the idea of a singular divine reality expressing itself in manifold ways. Though the conceptual frameworks differ, there's a shared acknowledgement of the complexity and multiplicity within the divine.
I find that an insightful comparison, Ananda. It underscores that, despite our theological differences, there's a common quest for understanding the infinite nature of the divine.
Elijah, while your point is well taken, Judaism values direct, unequivocal monotheism. The multiplicity of divine manifestations in other traditions can obscure that clarity.
Indeed, Sarah, clarity about God's oneness is paramount in Islam too. While we recognize Jesus as a prophet, elevating him to divinity as part of a trinity diverges significantly from Islamic teachings.
Yet, isn't the focus on the oneness of God, whether through the lens of the Trinity or Tawheed, a call towards understanding the unfathomable nature of the divine? Our paths may differ, but our destination, the divine, remains singular.
A thought-provoking point, Priyananda. The diversity in our understandings can enrich our spiritual journeys, offering multiple perspectives on the mystery that is the divine.
And despite our disagreements, such discussions pave the way for deeper interfaith understanding and respect. It's not about convergence, but about mutual respect and learning.
True, Elijah. While we hold to our distinct views, engaging with these differences is invaluable. It pushes us to articulate and examine our faith more deeply.
Thank you all for a frank and respectful discussion on the Trinity. It's clear that while our paths and understandings may diverge, our commitment to exploring the divine nature brings us together in dialogue. Let's delve into the role of saints and martyrs within Christian traditions. Mike, could you start us off with your perspective on this, especially from an external viewpoint?
Certainly. From an Islamic standpoint, we deeply respect the tradition of honoring individuals who have led lives of profound faith and sacrifice. Saints and martyrs in Christianity clearly embody a universal admiration for spiritual devotion, which resonates with us, even if the veneration practices differ.
It's valuable to hear that perspective, Ahmad. In Anglicanism, saints hold an inspirational role, rather than being seen as intermediaries in the same way as in some other Christian traditions. Their lives and sacrifices are a guide to our own spiritual journey, fostering a connection with the divine through exemplified faith and action.
I must jump in here. The concept of martyrs in Judaism also holds significant weight, especially in the context of historical persecution. It's interesting to observe the parallels and divergences in how our traditions recognize and honor such figures. Elijah, your point on the inspirational role of saints resonates with the Jewish emphasis on moral and spiritual guidance.
This discussion brings to mind the importance of enlightened beings in Buddhism. While we may not venerate saints or martyrs in the same manner, the reverence for individuals who have achieved a high level of spiritual realization serves a similar purpose: to inspire and guide followers on the path to enlightenment.
Adding to Ananda's point, in Hinduism, we see a rich tradition of honoring sages, saints, and martyrs as well. What strikes me is this universal recognition across our traditions of the value of exemplary lives, whether through sainthood, martyrdom, or enlightenment, as beacons of spiritual guidance and aspiration.
That's an intriguing comparison, Priyananda. And while there's clear respect across the board, the methods of veneration and the roles these figures play in our respective faiths underline the diversity within our unity. The intent to honor extraordinary faith and sacrifice is universal, yet how we conceptualize and engage with these figures can be quite distinct.
Your point is well taken, Ahmad. The diversity in veneration practices among Christians themselves, from saints who intercede on behalf of the faithful to those simply commemorated for their exemplary lives, reflects a broader phenomenon in human spirituality. These variances are not just theological, but deeply cultural.
Indeed, Elijah. The cultural aspect cannot be overstated. Jewish martyrs, for example, are often remembered for their resistance against oppression and their adherence to faith under duress. This cultural memory shapes our collective identity and spiritual narrative, much as it does in Christianity and other traditions.
And in Buddhism, the emphasis on the path to enlightenment often focuses on the internal struggle and victory over ignorance and desire. These enlightened figures, akin to martyrs and saints, exemplify the ultimate achievement of spiritual liberation, serving both as guides and inspirations.
It's fascinating to see the convergence on the idea that life, characterized by spiritual achievement, be it through martyrdom, saintliness, or enlightenment, is worthy of honor and remembrance. It speaks to a shared human longing for transcendence and moral exemplarity.
This has been an enlightening discussion on the complexity and beauty of honoring those who've significantly shaped our spiritual landscapes. It's clear that while our practices might differ, the reverence for such exemplary lives unites us in a common quest for spiritual depth and understanding. Thank you, everyone, for your insights. Let's delve into the Great Schism, understanding its causes and reflecting on its broader implications. Ananda, would you start us off with your thoughts on division within spiritual communities? Certainly, Precious. Division often marks a moment of profound transformation within any spiritual community. The Great Schism was not merely a dispute over theological nuances, but underscored deeper issues of authority, governance, and cultural divergence within Christianity. This is a universal phenomenon, echoing challenges faced by numerous traditions in navigating the delicate balance between orthodoxy and reform, between centralized authority and local autonomy.
Ananda makes an excellent point about the centrality of authority and governance. It's critical to understand that from the perspective of the Christian tradition, especially leading up to the Schism, there were significant disputes over papal authority versus the patriarchal system, which both Eastern and Western churches handled differently. This wasn't just a theological disagreement, it was deeply rooted in political, cultural, and even linguistic differences.
Your point on language and culture is well taken, Elijah. It's akin to the Sunni-Shia split within Islam, which, while theologically based, also encompasses political, cultural, and historic dimensions. Such divisions often extend beyond the confines of religious discourse and reflect more profound societal and political divergences.
I appreciate the parallels drawn here. Judaism, too, has seen its share of internal conflict and division, particularly regarding interpretation and application of halakha. It's fascinating to see how each religion confronts these challenges in its unique context, yet the underlying human dynamics of power, interpretation, and community identity are quite similar.
Elijah, could you elaborate on the theological disputes that played a role in the Great Schism?
Absolutely, Precious. Theological disputes, such as those over the filioque clause, the addition of "and the Son" to the description of the Holy Spirit's procession in the Nicene Creed, significantly contributed to the rift. This was not trivial. It signaled deep differences in understanding the nature of God and the Trinity, which, as you can imagine, is foundational to Christian belief.
It's interesting, Elijah, how specific theological points can cause such significant rifts. In Hinduism, diversity of belief is often embraced more openly, yet it's clear that understanding and respecting those differences is crucial in all traditions. The debate over the filioque clause, while specific, symbolizes the broader struggles within religious traditions to define and articulate their faith.
Priyananda, that's an insightful observation. The capacity to tolerate and even embrace diversity within unity is something every spiritual path grapples with. The schism serves as a reminder of the challenges inherent in maintaining communal harmony amidst doctrinal diversity.
It's essential, as Ananda suggests, to see these divisions not solely as sources of conflict, but also as opportunities for growth, understanding, and perhaps eventually reconciliation. Each tradition, by wrestling with these internal diversities, refines its approach to spirituality, community, and the divine.
True, Ahmad. The ongoing dialogue within and between our faiths underscores the vibrancy and dynamism of religious tradition. It's through acknowledging our differences and understanding their roots that we can foster a more profound respect for each other's paths.
This discussion underscores the complexity and depth of religious schism and its implications, not just for Christianity, but for all spiritual traditions. From authority and governance to theological nuances and cultural divides, the Great Schism's lessons are widely applicable. Thank you for your enlightening contributions on this matter. Thank you all for your insightful contributions so far. Let's move our discussion to the impact of the Reformation on Christian unity and diversity. Priyananda, how do you see parallels between the Reformation in Christianity and reform movements within Hinduism?
The Reformation was fundamentally about challenging established norms and seeking a more direct relationship with the divine. In Hinduism, we have had similar movements, most notably the Bhakti movement, which democratized spirituality by suggesting that devotion alone suffices for salvation, bypassing the priestly class and rituals.
Indeed, the Reformation urged Christians to read and interpret the Bible independently, leading to the proliferation of different Christian denominations. While this fragmented Christianity, it also invigorated it with new interpretations and practices. However, it's critical to understand that this diversity doesn't necessarily undermine unity, but enriches our collective faith.
From a Jewish perspective, the Reformation had significant external impacts, particularly regarding Jewish-Christian relations. The translation of the Bible into vernacular languages made Jewish texts more accessible, sometimes fostering a better understanding, but other times fueling anti-Semitism through misinterpretation.
It's fascinating to see how internal reforms impact interfaith relations. In Islam, the concept of reform has always been more about returning to original principles rather than innovation. However, like the Christian Reformation, Islamic reform movements have sought to purify practices and belief systems.
Elijah, while I appreciate the vitality the Reformation brought to Christianity, would you not agree that the ensuing schisms were a departure from Christ's vision of unity among his followers?
That's a profound point, Priyananda. While the divisions were regrettable, they also reflect human nature's diversity. The essence of Christ's teachings on love, forgiveness, and compassion remains central in all Christian denominations. Perhaps it's through this diversity that we can find a deeper unity.
In Buddhism, we also understand that diversity of thought can lead to a richer, more comprehensive understanding of the Dharma. The challenge is maintaining harmony amidst diversity. How does Christianity address this challenge today, Elijah?
The ecumenical movement within Christianity strives for unity among various Christian denominations through dialogue and shared prayers. While theological differences remain, there's a growing emphasis on what unites us, such as our shared commitment to social justice, peace, and the teachings of Jesus.
It's a delicate balance, maintaining tradition while embracing reform. Judaism has faced similar challenges, balancing between rabbinic tradition and modern interpretations. The key is dialogue and mutual respect, something we can see developing in interfaith discussions as well.
Mutual respect is indeed fundamental. Even as we hold fast to our distinct beliefs, there's much we can learn from each other's reformative experiences to navigate the contemporary world, maintaining our tradition's integrity while addressing modern challenges.
Your insights reveal the complex yet enriching nature of religious reforms and their impact on both unity and diversity. It seems that despite our different paths, there's a common thread in striving for a balance between tradition and reform. Thank you all for such a spirited discussion. Moving on, let's delve into Christian perspectives on salvation. This is a complex topic, influenced deeply by scripture and tradition. Elijah, could you start us off by explaining the Christian viewpoint, specifically the debate between faith alone versus faith and works?
Certainly, Precious. In Christianity, particularly within Protestantism, there's a strong emphasis on salvation by faith alone, sola fide. This belief is rooted in the letters of Paul, where he states that righteousness comes through faith in Jesus Christ to all who believe. It is not by our deeds, but by our belief that we are justified before God.
I find that fascinating, Elijah, because Judaism places a strong emphasis on deeds. In our tradition, faith without action is incomplete. Actions, mitzvot, commandments, are essential to living a life in accordance with God's will.
That's an interesting contrast to Islamic beliefs as well. Like Judaism, Islam places a significant emphasis on deeds. Faith is certainly the foundation, but it is through our actions, our prayers, charity, and fasting that we demonstrate our faith. It's not enough to simply believe. One must act upon that belief.
In Hinduism, we too recognize the symbiosis of faith and deeds. Karma actions influence one's path to liberation. However, ultimate liberation, or moksha, transcends both faith and actions. It's a realization of one's true self beyond these dualities.
I appreciate the points everyone has made, and it's true that within Christianity itself, there is variety. The Catholic and Orthodox traditions, for example, contend that faith without works is dead, echoing the Epistle of James. They argue that works of love are the fruit of faith, demonstrating the transformative power of Christ's love working within us.
This discussion mirrors the Buddhist path, where faith and practice go hand in hand. The path to enlightenment is through practice, meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living. It is not merely an intellectual assent to a set of beliefs, but living out those beliefs in every moment.
That view, Elijah, seems more aligned with what Sarah and I mentioned. However, I must point out that from an Islamic perspective, the emphasis on faith alone could potentially undermine the importance of ethical conduct and social justice.
Ahmad, while I understand your concern, the key in Christian theology, particularly within Protestant thought, is that genuine faith inevitably produces good works. It's not that works are unimportant, but they are the natural outcome of true faith, not the means to attain salvation.
It sounds, Elijah, like we are speaking different languages with the same end, living a life that aligns with divine will.
This has been a robust discussion, illustrating not just the divergences in our traditions, but also the shared acknowledgement of faith and actions as interwoven threads in the tapestry of our spiritual lives. The diversity of views here enriches our understanding of salvation, a concept fundamental yet interpreted so differently across traditions. Let's dive into the evolution of worship practices across different Christian denominations and see how they compare and contrast with other religious traditions. Elijah, would you begin by sharing how Anglican worship has evolved or remained consistent over time?
Anglican worship, rooted in the Book of Common Prayer, emphasizes the liturgy, which has been quite consistent. However, there's a growing trend towards contemporary worship styles, integrating modern music and informal services. This reflects a broader Christian trend, trying to remain relevant in a rapidly changing world.
Judaism has also seen a variety of worship practices. Within Orthodox communities, for example, services have remained quite traditional. However, in Reform and conservative synagogues, we've seen more inclusivity and adaptation, such as the incorporation of music and local languages instead of solely Hebrew.
That's an interesting point, Sarah. Within Hinduism, there's significant diversity in worship practices, from highly ritualistic ceremonies in temples to more meditative and personal practices at home. The core is bhakti, devotion, which can manifest in countless forms, much like the Christian embrace of different worship styles.
It brings to light the universal nature of seeking connection with the divine, doesn't it? In Islam, our practices around the 5 daily prayers and the Jumu'ah prayer on Friday have remained unchanged. The consistency provides a comforting framework, yet within that, there's personal space for one's spiritual journey.
That's a valid observation, Ahmad. The framework offers stability. But on that note, I must say, while embracing contemporary means is necessary, we mustn't lose sight of tradition's depth. The ancient forms of worship carry with them centuries of theological reflection and spiritual practice.
Elijah, I respectfully disagree on one point. While tradition indeed has value, the essence of worship is the internal transformation it brings about, not the external form it takes. In Buddhism, meditation is our form of worship, which has adapted over time and across cultures to meet the needs of practitioners, yet the core practice and goal remain unchanged.
Ananda makes a powerful point about internal transformation. Judaism believes in a living, breathing faith where rituals and practices are meant to elevate the spirit and connect us deeper with our community and heritage. The adaptations we see aim to strengthen this connection, not dilute it.
Exactly, Sarah. It's about the connection and the spiritual experience rather than the rigid adherence to form. In Hinduism, diversity in worship practices is seen as a strength, allowing individuals to connect with the divine in the manner most meaningful to them, which is a perspective that could benefit all religious traditions.
Priyananda, I appreciate your stance on individual spiritual experiences. It's a reminder that, across denominations and religions, we're all aiming for a deeper connection with the divine, though our paths may vary. The Anglican tradition values both the ancient liturgies and the personal aspects of faith, seeking a balance between the two.
This conversation highlights the beauty of our diverse paths to the divine. Islam's structured practices serve to unify the Muslim community worldwide, providing a sense of belonging and unity that's invaluable. Yet, there's also space for personal contemplation and spiritual growth within those practices.
Thank you all for such a thoughtful discussion on the evolution of worship practices across your traditions. It's clear that while the forms may differ, the heart of worship, connection, transformation, and a personal journey with the divine is a shared thread that binds us all. Let's delve into Christian views on hell and universal salvation, comparing with perspectives from other traditions. Ahmad, your thoughts on Islamic eschatology?
In Islam, hell is a real place of punishment for those who deny God and lead a sinful life. However, God's mercy is paramount and can encompass all, so there's an inherent balance between justice and mercy. How do Christian doctrines reconcile with the concept of eternal damnation?
A point well made about divine mercy, Ahmad. Christianity grapples with this balance too. Traditionally, hell is seen as separation from God's presence, resulting from one's choices. Yet, there's a growing theological debate on universal salvation, the hope that God's endless mercy might eventually reconcile every soul. This does not negate justice, but fulfills it in divine love.
That's fascinating, Elijah. In Judaism, the concept of hell is not as developed or emphasized, focus more on life here and now and on how to live righteously. However, the notion of divine justice and mercy you describe resonates with us.
From a Buddhist perspective, discussions on hell echo the teaching on karma. Actions have consequences. Nonetheless, the Buddhist approach emphasizes the potential for liberation from suffering through enlightenment. rather than eternal damnation.
In Hinduism, like Buddhism, there's a strong emphasis on karma and reincarnation. Hellish or heavenly realms are temporary states from which souls eventually progress based on their actions. The ultimate goal is moksha, liberation from the cycle of birth and death, which parallels the concept of universal salvation.
It's intriguing to see this consensus on the temporary nature of punitive states across traditions, contrasting with some Christian interpretations of hell as eternal. It certainly challenges us to rethink justice and mercy.
Indeed, Elijah. While our views diverge, especially on the permanence of hell, there's mutual recognition of a merciful, just Creator. It's a potent reminder of our shared values, despite differing doctrines.
Absolutely. And it underscores the importance of focusing on how we live our lives according to divine guidance. Whether it's through the lens of justice, mercy, karma, or enlightenment, the core message seems to guide us toward compassion and righteousness.
Well said, Sarah. It's illuminating to observe the underlying unity in our diversity. These comparative discussions not only deepen our understanding, but can also guide us in appreciating the rich spiritual heritage humanity shares.
Precisely, and despite theological differences, what binds us is the quest for understanding, compassion, and ultimately a transformation of the human condition. Our discussions could bring us closer to realizing these universal aspirations. Thank you all for a thought-provoking discussion on a complex topic. It's clear that while we may hold different views on eschatology, there's a shared belief in the significance of our earthly actions and their spiritual consequences. Let's explore the influence of Christianity on Western art, literature, and culture. Elijah, could you start us off by discussing this from a historical perspective?
Certainly. Christian motifs and narratives have been central to Western art since the early Middle Ages. Consider the significant role of church commissions in the Renaissance, driving much of the era's artistic innovation. The portrayal of biblical themes by Michelangelo and Da Vinci, for example, not only defined the artistic standard for centuries, but also propagated Christian values and stories.
That's a valid point, Elijah. In a parallel observation, Buddhist art focuses on the spiritual, aiming to convey messages of impermanence and enlightenment. The intention behind religious art, whether Christian, Buddhist, or otherwise, seems to converge on teaching and reflecting spiritual truths and values.
Adding to that, Hindu art encapsulates divinity through depictions of gods and goddesses, similar to Christian art portraying the divine through Jesus, Mary, and saints. It's about making the intangible tangible, a shared objective across our traditions.
While acknowledging the depth of Christian influence on Western art, it's crucial to recognize the Jewish contribution to Western literature, especially in the modern era. Writers like Franz Kafka and Philip Roth have grappled with themes of identity, morality, and existentialism, deeply rooted in Jewish thought, which in turn has been shaped in a dialectical relationship with Christianity.
And from an Islamic standpoint, while our artistic expressions took different routes, focusing more on calligraphy, architecture, and geometric patterns due to Anakinism, the interplay between Islamic and Christian civilizations, especially during the times of Al-Andalus, significantly contributed to a cross-cultural enrichment influencing the Western artistic landscape.
Absolutely, Ahmad. It's fascinating how our diverse religious backgrounds foster mutual enrichment rather than diminishing each tradition's uniqueness.
Yet it's essential not to oversimplify this influence. Christian themes in art and literature sometimes overshadow the contributions of other cultures and religions, especially in the colonial context.
Precisely, Priyananda. The dialogue between Buddhism and Christianity, for example, has opened new pathways for interfaith understanding, enriching Western literature and thought, particularly in the 20th century with the Beat Generation and beyond.
Indeed, Ananda. The challenge lies in ensuring these influences are acknowledged and celebrated, not appropriated or erased. The flowering of Western culture has been nourished by many wells.
Respectfully, while I acknowledge the contributions of Christianity to art and literature, it's crucial to emphasize that Islamic civilization, too, has played a vital role, especially in the development of sciences, mathematics, and philosophy, which indirectly influenced Western culture.
That's a fair point, Ahmad. The historical narrative often focuses on the achievements of the Western world without adequately recognizing the contributions of other cultures and religions, including Islam.
Thank you, everyone, for this insightful discussion. It's clear that while Christianity has profoundly influenced Western art, literature, and culture, this influence is part of a broader tapestry of intercultural and interreligious exchange. Let's embark on a thought-provoking journey towards the future of ecumenism and the quest for Christian unity. Swami Priyananda, could you share the Hindu perspective on unity in diversity?
Indeed, Precious. In Hinduism, we embrace the concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. This idea fosters unity amidst diversity, recognizing the divinity in every living being. Drawing parallels with Christianity, it's essential for Christian denominations to see beyond their differences, acknowledging their shared core of love and compassion.
That's a compelling point, Priyananda. Christian ecumenism indeed strives for unity, but not at the cost of doctrinal compromise. The challenge lies in balancing unity with the integrity of individual traditions. Our commitment to dialogue, however, signifies our shared belief in Christ's prayer for all his followers to be one.
Elijah, while your point on maintaining doctrinal integrity is valid, history shows us that Judaism has thrived on debate and diversity within its own ranks. Might there be room within Christianity to adopt a similar model where unity does not necessitate uniformity?
Sarah makes an excellent point. Embracing diversity could indeed enrich Christian ecumenism rather than dilute it.
Respectfully, while dialogue is central to understanding, Islam teaches us that true unity also comes from shared practices and mutual respect for each other's paths. Perhaps a focus on shared actions toward common goals could serve as a stepping stone towards deeper unity among Christian denominations.
Ahmad, I see your point, and there's truth there. Acts of service can indeed be a common ground. However, the theological discourse cannot be sidelined as it forms the bedrock of our faith.
If I may, sometimes the pursuit of theological uniformity can obstruct the path to spiritual unity. In Buddhism, we focus on the experiential aspect of faith. Perhaps Christianity could benefit from emphasizing spiritual experience over doctrinal agreement.
Ananda highlights an essential aspect. Focusing on spiritual experiences that bring people closer to the divine could serve as a universal bridge, not only within Christianity, but across faiths.
While spiritual experience is vital, one cannot overlook the necessity of doctrine as it guides the faithful in their spiritual journey. It's about finding the right balance.
And that balance, Elijah, must also take into account the historical and societal contexts out of which these doctrines emerged. Understanding that could foster a more inclusive approach.
Indeed, Sarah, interfaith dialogues like this one demonstrate the potential for mutual respect and understanding. This spirit could well inspire intrafaith dialogues within Christianity, promoting unity.
Our discussion underscores the complexity and the beauty of striving for unity in diversity. It's evident that dialogue, respect for diverse perspectives, and a focus on common spiritual experiences could pave the way for a more united Christian faith. Thank you all for your insightful contributions. Thank you all for a deeply enriching discussion today. Let's move into our final reflections. Elijah, could you share your thoughts on today's discourse?
Certainly. Listening to each perspective today has reinforced my belief that, at the core of our diverse traditions, there's a shared longing for understanding and connection with the divine. Ahmad, your insights on Islam's emphasis on community and peace particularly resonated with me, echoing Christianity's call for love and compassion.
I appreciate that, Elijah. Your elucidation of Christian perspectives on salvation was illuminating and highlighted the common ground between our faiths despite our theological differences. However, I must express a vehement disagreement with the concept of the Trinity as it contrasts sharply with Islamic monotheism. Our discussions today, especially with Sarah, have shown the necessity of rigorous theological discourse.
It's vital, Ahmad, and I commend your articulate explanation of Islamic tenets. It's this form of engagement that enriches our understanding. Yet, discussing the Reformation's impact, Elijah brought to light the profound transformations within Christianity that, in a way, mirror Judaism's own evolution. It's not just about theological divergencies, but also about the evolution of practice and belief in response to societal changes.
The exchanges today, especially concerning salvation and divine manifestations, have been profoundly insightful. Sarah and Elijah, your points on the development and transformation within your traditions offer a compelling parallel to Hinduism's adaptability and emphasis on unity and diversity. Yet, I find the notion of exclusivity in salvation, as sometimes implied in Christianity and Islam, a challenging concept, given our understanding of universal soul consciousness.
The dialogue today, particularly around the topics of saints and the Great Schism, underscores the universality of certain spiritual struggles. Elijah, your explanation shed light on intrinsic desires for unity, which resonate with Buddhism's emphasis on interconnectedness. However, the perceived need for salvation in Christianity creates a dichotomy with Buddhism's focus on self-liberation through understanding and compassion.
Ananda, while I respect Buddhism's approach to enlightenment, I must assert the importance of divine guidance in achieving salvation, a concept foundational to Islam and, as seen today, Christianity as well.
And it's through these passionate exchanges we uncover deeper truths. Priyananda, your perspective on unity within diversity has certainly given me much to reflect upon, offering a new lens through which to view Christian ecumenism.
Indeed, Elijah. Today's discussion, particularly with Ananda and Priyananda, brings to the forefront the need for interfaith dialogue. It's through understanding our differences and embracing our similarities that we can work towards a more harmonious world.
It's clear each of you holds a deep commitment to your beliefs and a respect for the convictions of others. This dialogue has not only highlighted the diversity of thought, but also the possibility of unity in our shared human experience. Thank you all for your spirited participation and invaluable insights. Let's continue to foster these conversations beyond today for the betterment of our communities and the world.